A Nascent Kaleidoscope. Chapter 166. Well, you bastard. Saber raised her voice. Where the hell did you hear that name? The venom was practically leaking from her mouth. Well, fuck. Guess I know who she is. Mordred Pendragon, the Knight of Treachery. And I have absolutely no idea on how to treat her. Artoria had been evasive on her feelings towards Mordred, but I at least think she doesn't hold an absolute hatred for the younger knight. No idea what you're talking about. I glanced at Saber's master, who remained silent and had made no move to interrupt us. Well, I can't fault him. It was probably the wisest decision to get information, to let Mordred rampage a little bit. Bullshit! She jabbed her finger at me. You called me that name after seeing my face. She growled. I let out a sigh. You're surprisingly perceptive. Perceptive my ass. Anyone would have noticed something so obvious. She scowled. That's why I called it surprising. That's it. Her gauntlet-clad hand crackled with red lightning. Really? One of Artoria's knights is acting like a common thug? I crossed my arms, staring at her. That actually made her stop, but her hands clenched tight and her furious expression didn't change. You do know. She spat out. How do you know about father? The number of people who knew his true name could be counted on one hand. Actually, I'm surprised you knew. But I guess Morgan would have told you. I shrugged. Don't speak that witch's name near me. Mordred angry words reverberated in air along with a manifestation of red lightning around her. Well, don't touch the Morgan button, got it. That's fair. I've heard quite a few unkind things about her. Stop spouting bullshit and tell me the truth. She stomped on the ground, cracking the area. Reika made a move, but I held my hand up, stopping her. I let out a long sigh and ran a hand through my hair. Was there a reason not to be truthful? It's not like this information could come back to bite me. Fine, what do you want to know? Where's father? How do you know him? At my house, and we're in a relationship. I said bluntly. She blinked. I guess she didn't expect me to be so forthcoming. What? She blurted out. She's at my house. I stated. Which was technically true. No. The other part, the fuck did you just say? We're in a relationship. I said dryly. She's my girlfriend. Die, she said simply, raising her sword towards me. I closed my eyes and sighed. The swinging of her blade was caught by Reiku. Fuck off, you cow. Mordred roared, bursting with lightning. The insects sure are noisy tonight. Reiku smiled innocently towards the night, as she too crackled with her own purple lightning, overpowering Mordred. With an explosive burst of power, I saw Mordred shoot off into the distance. Don't kill her. I sent towards Reiku over our mental link. But master, it's hard to not crush such annoying bugs. Her cheerful voice really did contrast the killing intent that was wafting off her, and I don't think it entirely had to do with Mordred. I should do something nice for her later. Neither of us can help her odd state of mind. Please. I will ensure I do not kill her. It sounded a bit strained, but I figured that was the best I would get. And I did promise not to fight for now. I had a thought, though. That's Mordred Pendragon. She never had a proper mother. Reika didn't respond, but I think I touched a soft spot for her. At least, I don't think she would intentionally do anything to Mordred. Well, that escalated. I turned towards Mordred's master. I wonder how long it'll take Saber to realize the holes in what you said. The older man mused, not upset at the turn of events apparently. Probably just needs to get this out of her system. I shrugged. Funnily enough, I don't think she would have actually swung at me if my servant wasn't there to stop her. The man grunted. So, King Arthur? He raised an eyebrow over his sunglasses. What? Nothing. Is it really that hard to believe? You got a female Mordred running around. I gestured to the fighting happening a little ways away. Nice try, you big cow-tit bimbo. Mordred's jeering could be heard quite clearly. Is the child envious of a real woman? Reiku countered. Rah! I turned away, focusing back on Saber's master. True. He nodded, seemingly accepting that. I hope my bounded fields last long enough for them to finish, otherwise we may need to move. Maybe, maybe not. Things might get a bit more exciting in a bit. This is the first true night of the war. I looked up at the sky, the stars shining bright this far away from large concentrations of civilization. I guess you're not as V as I thought. He grunted again. Never did get your name. It's polite to introduce yourself first. I pointed out. Kairi Sisegu. He replied. Oh, I have heard of you, just never had the chance to put a face to the name. I rubbed my chin. A very practical mercenary, very high completion rate for assignments. I remember something vague about your family being cursed. He snorted. Your name. I took a jar of sake out of my ring, along with 2 cups. Want a drink? I offered. He raised an eyebrow. Trying to hide your family? Haha, not really in the way you think. I scratched my head. I have no fear of retaliation nor anything like that. But I don't think you'll like what I have to say. I've worked with the worst sorts, the arrogant brats of the noble families, all the way to the lowest scum that like to use children as materials. He flicked his unused cigarette to the side. And all the church executors in between, there really isn't any. Wilhelm Henry Schweinorg. I cut him off. He stopped, processing that little bit of information. He opened his mouth, but I spoke again. Yes, that Schweinorg. His jaw snapped shut, palm quickly connecting to his face. Fuck me. He groaned before regaining his composure. Yeah, I'd like that drink, please. Just like that, he walked over and plopped himself onto the ground, seemingly uncaring about keeping his guard up. I shrugged, sitting down with him, and poured us drinks. Sake, huh? Haven't had any good sake in a few years, since I did a job back in Japan. He downed it in one go, letting out a breath. Oh yeah, that's some high-quality stuff. Genuine yukai make. I mimicked his actions, drinking from my cup. Of course it is. He didn't question it. So, you're related to the Kaleidoscope? Grandson. I responded. Also a magician, if you're wondering. Well, I expected nothing else with my luck. He rubbed his temples. I did not ask for enough to do this job. You're being surprisingly casual. I'm not from a big and noble family that can ignore someone dropping the Kaleidoscope's name. He gave me a look. Nor am I stupid enough to cross as a parent grandson. My offer from before still stands. The one about prosperity for my family? Well, that seems a lot more probable now. He admitted. But Saber isn't going to relent, regardless of who you're related to. Yeah, I figured. Well, I may have a way to change her mind depending on her wish, so who knows. Did she happen to tell you? Even if she did. Yeah. Realized as soon as I said it that it was inappropriate to ask like that. It could be something really personal, so it would be rude to go around her back to ask. So, King Arthur. He quirked a smile. Different world line, different Grail War. She and her master won. Her master is grandfather's student, so we met like that. I liked her, so I asked her out on a date, and the rest is history. Huh. Sounds more boring than I expected. With a shout, Mordred came sliding in towards us, the ground bursting at her steps. Master, what's the big idea? I had her. You called her back? I raised an eyebrow towards Kairi. That's enough, Saber. I'm formally accepting an alliance. He stated. Master. Reiko also appeared right beside me. I have fulfilled your command at great effort. The insect still remains after receiving my blade. And this bitch keeps going. Mordred looked ready for round 2. All right, let's calm down. I stood up, getting between them. Fuck off, you Danny boy. Don't think I forgot what you said about my father, like he'd ever look at someone like you. Mordred angrily shouted, even if her presence sort of dimmed, receding with her intent to fight. If I hear some crap about you and father again, I'll take your head myself. She scoffed. For someone who ended their father's life, you seem really protective of her. Was kind of cute if I were being honest. Fuck you. Father is perfect. You don't deserve to even say his name. She scowled. If he was here right now, I would fight him and claim my right. My lips curled up, and I ignored her outburst. You can call me Daddy if you want. I'll kill you. Kairi grabbed Saber as she flailed around angrily. You're just like that flowery bastard. Mordred continued, saying a bunch of bullshit just to annoy people for a jest. I'm not buying it. I took out my phone, pressing on it a few times before holding it up to Mordred. What is that? Her eyes widened. It was a simple picture of Artoria. I slid my finger across the screen, changing to a new picture. She hesitantly reached out for it, and I let her take it from my hands as she continued to move through the pictures herself. Father looks happy. She whispered. Chapter 167. Mordred POV. I don't understand it. Why? WH, YWH, 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 YWHY. Why does father look so happy? I wanted to crush this strange device, this little contraption that showed these ridiculous images. Yet, I was unable to stop myself from burning every single image into my memory. Why do all of these show father's smile when I was never able to receive one? I almost choked when the next image appeared. How? It showed father and this Magus, kissing. What? No, I don't believe it. Never. This could never be true. I'll kill this fucker for trying to deceive me with this bullshit. Even if father wished to find a suitable queen, this bastard is far from worthy. Which he definitely isn't, because father is perfect and wouldn't ever deem this idiot worth his time. Humph. Saber, you okay? Master's voice rang in my ears through our link. I'm fine. If you... I said I'm fine. All right, then I'm going to start the negotiations for our alliance. Whatever. I ignored him as I kept going through all the pictures on this strange thing. Other people had started appearing. A woman, a Magus most likely. She had black hair and twin tails. Father looked like he got along with her well. Good. Father already has a new retinue. I would expect nothing less from him. A non-human woman with blue skin. An old man who also looks like a Magus and gives me the strangest feeling of déjà vu. It was almost as if I was looking at that flowery bastard. Another woman with blonde hair and blue robes who looked important. I would also remember their faces, so I could find father after I win this war. When I finally get my wish and pull forth Caliban and earn my birthright, I can show father how worthy I am. Then he'll know how wrong he was. I couldn't help but growl as most of these images were filled with that bastard mage's face. I had to resist the urge to hit him in his very punchable face. Pretty fancy tech you got there. I looked up as Master eyed the device in my hand. I also took a second look at it. I didn't really give a shit about things like this, but Master thought it was important or something. Time and space. The bastard replied with cheeky smile that I wanted to slap off his face. Huh, so how long until? Give it 20 years at most. The bastard shrugged. Got any investment advice? Master chuckled. I didn't know what they were talking about, but Master was no fool. The fact that he was able to summon me proved it. This kind of crap was never my strong suit. Even Mother gave up on trying to teach me it, which is an achievement in of itself now that I think about it. Mother was not one to relent. It doesn't matter. Even Father had subordinates that handle all that bothersome stuff. If it ever became an issue, I would just need to find someone like Agravain. Even when running the kingdom, he always found time to help me when I was troubled by something, though we rarely spoke. I can add a list of stuff after we settle our business. The bastard's voice grated on my ears again. So what do you want? Master asked. I won't sign my life away, but I'm willing to work together. I don't have a wish. I'm planning on taking the Grail itself. What did you just say? I snapped my head towards that arrogant lout. Would you just calm down and listen? He sighed. I swear, you're exactly like Artoria described. Father spoke about me? Not that I care. I know how great I am. I don't need anyone to sing my praises, especially not him. What did he say? Arrogant, rash, headstrong. He started listing off. Humph, I didn't care anyways. But above all, a good knight. Oh, of course. I turned away to ignore his stupid smile. I'm the greatest knight, that much is obvious. Stupid Magus, saying shit like that. Why's there a need to say something so obvious? Just a child. That bastard servant laughed at me. The fuck you just say? I couldn't hear over the sound of your cow udders slapping together. I sneered at the other servant. A little girl who doesn't know the charms of a real woman. She pushed up her breasts, and I saw that bastard Magus sneak a glance. Hey, you bastard! I ignored the cow, grabbing my sword and held the tip towards the stupid Magus. Don't you dare look at other women. If I ever find out you cheated on Father, I'll castrate you myself. How dare he even look at another when Father chose him? Is it a bad time to say I have a harem? My eyes widened as I stared at the foppish asshole. Is my father not good enough for you? How dare this lowly scum? Saber. Master spoke up, drawing my attention. Deal with personal stuff later. I let out a grunt but obliged. It was unbecoming of a knight to go against the word of the one they swore themselves to, even if it was temporary. At least I wouldn't have to find another place to bury the body when I'm finished. Fine, but I still want an explanation on the Grail. I scowled. That's a valid point. Saber agreed to the contract with me based on the promise of a wish. I can't agree to this alliance if that's denied. Good. My master has honor at least. I hate dealing with people most of the time, just a selfish lot. Humans are just disappointing. If there's one thing I hate the most, it's humans who forget their debts when it's convenient for them. I need to know your wish before I can claim anything. I looked him over. I still couldn't understand what Father saw in him. He looked frail, weak, and timid. My wish is to pull the sword from the stone and prove my kingship. Oh, what? I snapped at him. Got a problem with my wish? On the contrary, actually. He gave a thumbs. That's a good wish, I approve. Fuck you, I don't need your approval. I snorted. Why would I care what anyone else thinks? I'm doing this for me. Would Father approve? Why am I even think like that? It doesn't matter. I'll do it anyways and prove Father wrong. Well, I have two thoughts. First, I know where Caliban is, and I could get it for you. The annoying Magus spoke, but his words drew my attention. Impossible. The sword was shattered. Even if some fool reforged it, the blade would never be the same. I scowled at the thought. Maybe only that flowery asshole could properly put the sword back together, but he rarely did anything useful. Well, the Caliban in this world, maybe. He smirked. It was the same smirk as the flowery asshole when he knew things others didn't. Or I could possibly send you back in time to before Artoria pulled it, so you could have a go. I rolled my eyes at his bravado. Not even Merlin, or my mother couldn't achieve something like that. And you, a magus in this era, think they can time travel. I was not a magus, nor did I have the inclination to consider it, but I picked up a few things being around Mother for longer than I liked. Stupid. Do you think you're a magician? He interrupted me. I never did introduce myself. Wilhelm Henry Schweinorg, grandson to Zelretch, and master of the second true magic. Him, a magician? The Grail gave my knowledge on the difference between magic and magecraft, filling in some gaps that Mother never cared to tell me. I knew what a magician was, and what the second true magic was as well. The specifics were annoying and I didn't care to think about it, but you're still not good enough for Father. I'll get you to call me Daddy someday. I'll kill myself before that happens. I glared. I think we're getting off topic. Master interjected. Saber, are these terms okay with you? I didn't really care where Caliban was, nor which one it was. As long as it was Caliban, and it still worked, that was fine with me. And as a bonus, maybe I actually can time travel, go back, get the sword, and kick Merlin in the balls. Fine. I accepted. You better not be lying to me. I narrowed my eyes, sword gripped tight. And we're going to have a talk later. This bastard was going to tell me everything, even if I had to beat it out of him. Wilhelm POV. It was easy enough to get Mordred to agree. Still having trouble getting a proper read on her, though. Admittedly, Artoria had not spoke much of Mordred, but she was described almost perfectly. She's kind of cute as well. I wanted to keep teasing her. I also wanted to sit down with Mordred and talk to her, maybe get to know her better if Artoria expressed interest in building something with her wayward knight and child. So, what I want is a simple alliance with help for my goals. I'm going to steal the Grail, and would like your help. Before we begin, what do you want? I asked Kyrie. To steal the Grail from the Igmalenia family, while the Red faction also has a vested interest in attaining it. He reiterated, giving me a look. Yes. It's dangerous and going to be difficult. Just shoot me a price. I have rare materials, money, or other things. Want some spells? You're a necromancer. I do have some stuff you've probably never seen about necromancy before. Since Meridia was my woman, I would respect her wishes and not meddle with the craft. But that didn't mean I was without the knowledge or resources regarding it. Tempting. He nodded. How are you with curses? He asked. Oh, right. The curse on your bloodline, or was it your family? I only vaguely know the details, to be honest. But I have confidence in my ability to remove it regardless. I tapped my chin, trying to think of any scenario where I couldn't help him. Even if I couldn't do anything about it myself, I know people who could without a doubt. I can accept that. He was quick to believe my words, which caught me by surprise. You're being awfully trusting. I eyed him suspiciously. I haven't even heard you mention a geas since we started talking. That should have been the first words out of your mouth as a proper magus. He didn't immediately respond. He took out another cigarette, putting it in his mouth. He didn't light it, leading me to believe it was more of a physical tic than anything. More of a spellcaster these days. He chuckled. But in any other situation, I'd have taken out one of a handful of geas scrolls I already had prepared. But to a magician, would that even mean anything? You said you could solve my curse issue without much hassle. Would a geas really bind you? No, I admitted. I had several ways I could get around it. And if I wanted to, I could just go to Meridia and have her remove it. I doubt it could stand up to the power of a goddess like that. What's the plan then? Play to my pride? He shrugged. Better than a powerless piece of paper. I would think you'd at least care about the Schweinorg name being dragged through the mud. You are a smart man, I praised. I'll be sure to drop your name to my grandfather in case he ever has any jobs. I can't tell if that's a punishment or a reward. Yes. Kyrie chuckled. Well, an in with the wizard marshal couldn't hurt me at this point, I guess. So, curse taken care of. Can we talk about money? 4 times your payment for accepting this job initially. He whistled in surprise. Done. And if possible, can I get some protection for my family? Some vultures have been circling ever since it's been made public that I was going to be the last generation. The lackadaisical way he said it, I don't know if he was being sincere about his desire or not. I'll make sure the pests are taken care of. Wouldn't be too hard. Zelretch mentioning a casual word would have them running for the hills. I'll accept this deal and formally the alliance. Kyra declared. So what's the plan? Non-canon make, The Secrets of Shursho's Training, Part 1. Well, this is fucking deplorable. I looked around at the wasted city of Fuyuki. So this is a singularity. Yeah, it's pretty scary. The other master, Ritsuko Fujimaru, stood beside me. Senpai. Mashu the demi-servant spoke softly. We'll get through this together. Right, Mashu? Ritsuka smiled brightly, only for a white fur ball to jump on his shoulder. Fo-fo! He squeaked out. You chew, fo! He laughed. And how the hell are we supposed to get through this? We only have one servant, and she doesn't even know the name of her noble phantasm. The last member of our little group spat out the director of Chaldea, Olga Marie Animusphere. Well, not quite without any servants. I looked to the side. How about you come out, you damn mutt? Oh! A man walked out from the shadows, long blue hair and robes, carrying a wooden staff. That was a pretty specific insult there. It's almost like I know who you are. I grinned. He laughed. Seriously? I didn't think I was famous enough to be recognized at first glance. He shrugged. And what makes you think I'm not your enemy? Please, like you could hide your bloodlust when facing someone in a fight. He burst out laughing. You really know who I am. All right, I'm curious how. Same teacher, I said bluntly. He almost choked as the words reached him. Hey, are you fucking with me? Nope. Shit. Yeah. Huh, I guess that makes us brothers or something. He scratched his head. Well, guess I'll introduce myself proper. See you, Chulin, caster servant. What the hell is going on? Olga screamed. Got a new servant. I shot her a thumbs up. She let out a sigh, rubbing her temples. Okay. This is good. Now we just have to form a contract with Caster, and we have 2 servants. She bit her thumb. But this idiot has no idea what he's doing. She huffed, looking at Ritsuka. Sorry. He apologized. Don't apologize, be better. Olga shouted. Director. I put a hand on her shoulder. Let me handle this. Between me and see you over there, we can get Ritsuka up to fighting shape in no time. What nonsense are you speaking? We're in the middle of a singularity. What could you possibly do? Oi, brat, you think about doing the thing? See, you looked at me. Yeah, with your help, I think we can pull it off. I nodded towards him. I've never done it before. He scratched his head. Yeah, but we both experienced it with her. Experiencing it and doing it are 2 different things. The corners of his lips curled up. But shit if this ain't something I wanted to do for a while. He laughed. What the hell, I'm in. What are you 2 talking about? Olga shouted in frustration. Me and see you shared a look. Training montage. We said at the same time. Chapter 168. Interlude 7. Izanami POV. Izanami, you made it! I walked through the veils of reality and was immediately greeted with Persephone grabbing me into a hug. Hello, Persephone, it's a pleasure to see you again. You look lovely. Is that a new dress? I kindly greeted the younger deity back. Am I the first to arrive? My hubby had it made for me for the occasion. Arachne barely accepts commissions from our side of the world these days, but he somehow managed to get this made in time. She beamed with pride. And if you came early, come on. She eagerly dragged me through the Greek underworld, easily navigating the layers of a subreality until we stepped to the area she was hosting us. With the brief pleasantries, Persephone disappeared again, attending to other duties while the other guests arrived. It wasn't particularly extravagant, but then again, there wasn't a need to show off to us. It was more appreciated to have a smaller and warmer feel than anything. Izanami! Lady Izanami! 2 voices greeted me. Oh, Ereshkigal, it's been too long. The smaller girl also came for a hug. This girl had always been a loner, even by our standards. It didn't help that much of her pantheon was gone, faded into oblivion, or otherwise killed. A quick greeting, and I faced the second person. Lord Yama, it's always a pleasure. One of the few deities that attends this little event that could claim to be my peer in age. Are we strangers? I thought you were calling me just Yama. The man laughed. Then what's with this Lady Izanami nonsense? I pursed my lips, earning another chuckle from him. Sorry, been having the bigwigs visiting my little corner so much these past few years, it just slipped out. He held his hands up in apology. Speaking of big, that big-headed, bald buffoon isn't here, is he? I took a glance around. Yama scratched his head awkwardly. Aha! No. Xidagarba isn't here. I wasn't going to invite him again after the last time. Izanami! Ereshkigal happily tugged on my sleeve. You'll never guess what happened. Something good happened in Kor? I questioned. I got over 100 new souls since our last meeting. She did a fist pump into the air. I looked up at Yama, who looked away, a little red on his face. I held back a chuckle at the predicament. It was a not-so-subtle secret that Yama kicked a soul or 2 back to Kor every now and then for the younger deity. Yama's bosses would get very upset if they found he was doing something like that. Souls for a pantheon means power. None would willingly give up a single one without benefits or a fight. Despite his intimidating appearance, he was a big softy at heart. I'm happy for you. I patted the girl on the head, and she smiled brightly. I remembered when she came into existence. Such a cute little thing. Accidentally stumbled into Yomi in her younger years. It was quite humorous to see her throw out so many apologies. She came to visit several times after that. I could still recall when she was covered in tears because her sister had spread rumors she married that stupid bull. How's the turnout look this year? Yama asked, moving towards a table set out with refreshments and snacks. Haven't spoken with the others in a while. I have no idea. To be honest, I almost forgot about this meeting until just recently. I shrugged. Aran isn't coming. He's going with Luff and some other Celtic gods to a meeting with the angels. Ereshkigal spoke up. I had almost forgotten about that little relationship. I swear, it's like watching 2 teenagers try and flirt. The Celtic god of death, his wife died many centuries ago when the world was pulled into the great war that took the Lord of Heaven. Him and Ereshkigal had gotten a little bit close since then, and it's a bit cute how those 2 kids act. I'm here. The area exploded in a burst of darkness as a jackal-faced man walked into the room. Anubis, good to see you. Yama greeted. The Egyptian god shot a thumbs up. It's great to finally get a break. Been looking forward to this for too long. He grinned. Izanami, Ereshkigal, you ladies are looking great. Damn it, you beat me. Another voice filled the room. Hell, the Norse goddess of death walked out of her own little portal. She sent a glare towards the Egyptian god. Better luck next time. He grinned. I wasn't quite sure on their relationship, but they were friends and had been for a long time. I heard they used to play when they were children, but not much more than that. Hell, you're looking good. I gave the Nordic goddess a look. Her hair was done up, and her wardrobe was changed. You think? She looked down at herself. She'd always been a bit of a tomboy, but she was wearing a dress this time. Thought it was time for a change. Girl, you lookin' fine. Anubis gestured with some finger guns. There was a small silence before Anubis, and Hell broke out into fits of giggles. Nerns, that was horrible. Couldn't help it. The jackal-faced man laughed along. But what's up? Do I need to go kick Baldur's ass? Hell let out a tired sigh. I'm done with him. He won't bother to even look my way even after everything I've done. Honey, you need to find a man who treats you right. I pat her shoulder. Hell was infatuated with Baldur, but the latter never returned her affections. She's right, you deserve better. Ereshkigal was quick to offer comfort. As antisocial as the Sumerian goddess was, she could apparently read the room well. Oh ho ho, just give the word. I know a few kids who would be right up your alley. Yama added, stroking his beard. If you suggest horseface or oxhead, I'm going to shave that beard off your chin. Hell deadpanned, towards the eastern death god. Yama cleared his throat and turned away in embarrassment. Anubis burst out laughing, and even Hell started to giggle. Takamagara above. I face-palmed. At least you didn't bring those two again as well. I like them. Anubis spoke up. Oh, you would, doghead. Hell joked. Hey! He ran a hand through his fur. Don't diss the head. You know how hard it is to keep my fur this gorgeous? Besides, they're good deities, even with their eccentricities. Feel free to take them then. Yama said without hesitation. Heavens know they constantly annoy me about getting a vacation. That the older god grumbled. I give them vacations. Why do they always complain about work? Don't listen to them. You're a good boss, old man. How many other gods offer vacation time, sick days, and time off like you do? And the pay is well known even over in Egypt. Anubis pat his shoulder. Maybe I should take a page out of their books and just be always drunk. His shoulders slumped. Rough few centuries. I asked. Don't even get me started. Yama groaned. I have to juggle several pantheonic underworlds and their respective heads. The Jade Emperor at least gives me respect as the manager of Huang Kuang, but Indra just turns his nose up at me whenever he comes down, as if I'm so far below him that I should be happy he even showed up in my presence. I don't envy him having to deal with Indra, while also appeasing the Buddhists and the heavenly bureaucracy. There's a reason he's the most senior among us, and I wouldn't even dispute that title nor want it. That reminds me. Lightning Head came down the other day, looking for the soul of one of his playthings or something. Apparently one of his latest toys died over in Japan, and he's a little miffed. He turned towards me. He couldn't find it and left in a huff, so be warned he may come over and cause trouble. I let out a sigh. Okay, so I should expect him to arrogantly drop into Yomi and demand a soul from me, Joy. I said dryly. Sorry. Yama lowered his head. Not your fault. I gave him a small smile. If you're looking to take some stress off, ever consider getting an animal protector? Even just a familiar might breath new life into the place. I thought of Wilhelm Sir Wiggles, and I considered getting myself something to keep me company as well. Oh, I agree. Hell exclaimed. Garmer is such a good boy, and I couldn't even think about him not being there with me through everything. I have no divine guardian myself, but I keep many different dogs in my own corner. Anubis added, it does brighten up the place to have them all around. Even Hades has a Cerberus. Ereshkigal looked contemplative, and all this talk makes me want one too. I heard my name. The realm shuddered, voice booming as the last person entered the area. He took on the appearance of a skeleton, but still looked rather regal. Were you waiting for someone to mention you? I deadpanned. He was. Persephone answered. The regal skeleton slumped his shoulders, the atmosphere returning to normal. Dear, why must you ruin the mood? Hades let out a sigh. Leave the posturing for those lesser gods, sweetie. She playfully pat his shoulder. Can we still talk about that? I still feel kind of bad. Health silently waved towards Persephone, getting one in return. It was so awkward, they wouldn't stop trying to show off or grandstand. Hell waved her hand flippantly. And when we didn't respond to it, they just kept doubling down like they thought they were winning or something. We've tried to expand this little circle in the past. Death gods from lesser pantheons and such. But they acted just as she said, continuously trying to one-up one another or show off in some way. We come here to get away from all that, so it was very much not welcomed. Ugh, I don't even want to remember that. Yama groaned again. With how much you drank, can you remember it? Anubis laughed. Unfortunately, Yama huffed. Anyone else have some of them try to reach out afterwards, trying to win some kind of favor? Wait, really? Anubis looked shocked, and we all shook our heads. Of course it was only me. Why do I always get the crazies? Yama slumped his shoulders again. Let me guess, you were too polite to tell them to go away. I asked. Haha, you know me too well. Yama laughed. Well, I found a use for those two idiots at least. They never did return after spending some time with Horseface and Oxhead. Forget my torments, just let me borrow those two, and I wouldn't need anything else. Hades shook his head before perking up. Now that I think about it, it might keep my brothers from just popping in whenever they want. He looked at Yama with a gleam in his eye sockets. Hey there, bonehead, hands off. Yama chuckled. Those two are my idiots. As much as Yama complains about them, he would never betray his subordinates like that. Oh. Hades looked down at his hands. Forgot I still was like this. His body shimmered, a shadowy energy enveloped him, and the bones were peeled away, revealing something underneath. He now looked like a man, albeit handsome with long black hair. Ah, that's better. There's my handsome man. Persephone kissed him on the cheek. Their relationship was really cute. It was so strange seeing you like that for the first time. I couldn't help but respond. I never did hear the story behind that skeleton form. Bah, he flipped his hand. Mortals spinning strange tales about me. It just kind of happened. It does add to your underworld ambience. Anubis gestured around. Though he was speaking about the underworld as a whole, not the small little spot they made to host us. Did you redecorate? Persephone convinced me for something more modern. He looked down at his wife happily. The dreary look was so last millennia. She nodded. Perhaps I should give Yomi a makeover. I thought out loud. Oh, if you do, please call me. I'd love to give a hand. Persephone looked enthused by the idea. I wouldn't mind helping too. It might give me ideas in the future. Hel smiled. Thought about changing things up on my end too. Speaking of changing things up, Persephone eyed Hel. Girl, you're looking good. Oh, you. Hel beamed. I wanted to try something new. Going to put myself out there and try to meet someone. Tell me if you want some help. I'll be your wing girl. Persephone giggled. That girl, ever the social butterfly. Speaking of meeting someone, Anubis spoke up. Saw something interesting on that devil net. Anubis had a twinkle in his eyes. Something about a giant monster and robot fight over in America with help from two mysterious strangers. I regret nothing. I said firmly. ORA, it was you. I saw it and couldn't believe it. Anubis burst out laughing. What happened? Persephone perked up. I was out with a friend, visiting America when a monster appeared. It looked very similar to one that shows up in various Japanese media, and I wished for a souvenir. I said plainly, I heard of that. Hades spoke up. Wait, really? Ereshkigal looked surprised. You don't normally keep up with mortal dealings, especially with things involving devils. Those bats. Hades grumbled. The only good thing to come from their existence is the devil net. Hubby does love his shows. His wife giggled. Well, this is a surprise. I eyed him. All that talk about annoying fallen angels and devils, and here you are. Bah, I still hate them. The Greek god huffed. So noisy, always causing trouble. Do you have any idea how many times one of them accidentally stumbled into my underworld from theirs? A lot. A lot, he exclaimed. And those damned evil pieces of theirs. One particular devil who accidentally stumbled into my realm, who just so happened to have one of those abominable things, and just so happened to try and force it on one of my reapers. Oh, don't even get me started on them. Yama nodded along. Had a few of them try to sneak into Huang Kuang when those things first came out. The corners of my lips curled up as his mention of Huang Kuang. Technically, his underworld had many names based on him being involved with several pantheons. He specifically calls it Huang Kuang to annoy Indra, the Hindu equivalent being Naraka. I had the same. Hel looked annoyed as well. They never made it to my underworld. Anubis didn't really care much. He hated the angels more than the devils by a large margin, and it was understandable why. They never came to Kor. Ereshkigal looked dejected. Oh, sweetie. Persephone was quick to console the Sumerian goddess, who was almost like the little sister of the group. It was amusing, because Persephone was the youngest among us and Ereshkigal was technically only below me and Yama in seniority. Cerberus just had some puppies. Hades muttered. Too many for me to take care of, if you want one of his pups. Really? The Sumerian goddess perked up. You can pick one out later. The Greek god nodded awkwardly before turning to me. But speaking of devils. Oh yes. I forgot I never did explain what I was doing. When I appeared in the Greek underworld, I merely requested access to deliver something to the devils, the bloodied body in my hands. Hades just looked absolutely delighted and easily accepted my request with a comment, hoping we'd catch up at this next meeting. Oh, I heard about that. Yama looked at me with interest as well. Something about you throwing the broken body of that Lucifer's subordinate on his doorstep with a warning. Well done, he praised. That lot had been getting a bit too arrogant lately just because they had that brat enter the top 10. Wait, what happened? Hell asked. You didn't know? I sent you the story. Anubis looked towards Hel. I can't ever figure out how to work those contraptions. She pouted. It was funny how quickly we all took with such technology, except for Hel. I think anything remotely modern just explodes in her hand. Well, when you're segregated from most others, you tend to find ways to amuse yourself. Something that allows us to connect to the entire supernatural world. That would be welcomed even for people like Hades that has a very obvious dislike for the propagators. There isn't much to say. I shrugged. Okita Tsuji, his knight, was causing problems for a friend of mine. They ended up fighting, and I delivered him back to his master. A friend or a friend that... Persephone's eyes sparkled. We're just friends. I huffed, crossing my arms. That's the Satan's bastard, right? Hades ignored his wife's antics. Indeed. I pursed my lips. Wilhelm is a half-devil with Japanese ancestry. But he has no dealings with the Abrahamic factions. Hades just grunted and gave a nod. He has some sense at least. Lucifer's bastard, huh? Anubis rubbed his chin. He as much a monster as his old man? Again, everyone looked at me expectantly. I guess it couldn't be helped. As much as most disliked the devil faction for various reasons, none could deny that Cersei's Lucifer was one of the strongest beings in the world. He is still fairly young, but he has shown ability far beyond his age. Apple doesn't fall from the tree, I suppose. Hel just nodded. How'd you two meet? Seems like an odd combination. It was by chance. I smiled wistfully. I was drinking at a bar, and he came in himself and started chatting me up. We seemed to get along well enough, so we kept in contact a bit. Even after he found out who I was, he didn't get scared and run away. He even comes and visits me in Yomi. Ah, that's so sweet. Persephone cooed. He convinced me to reach out to my children as well. My youngest is even coming to visit me after so long. Kia! Persephone quickly wrapped me up in a hug. I'm so happy for you. Such an excitable goddess, but it was nice to receive her affectionate hug. That's Susanoo. Yama muttered. Haven't heard anything from him in a while. Not surprising. Hades sighed. No one dares to even think about another lightning god on Olympus. Otherwise my brother throws a tantrum. From what I've heard, Indra is much the same. Ugh, tell me about it. Hel groaned. Thor just goes on boastful rants whenever Zeus is mentioned, let alone Indra. I think he actually gets along with Susanoo, but I'm not sure. I don't get invited to many Asgardian celebrations. Mostly just get second-hand accounts from my father, so, grain of salt there. Perhaps I should have a word with my son. I hope he does not act like that. I commented. I don't know much of what happens in Takamagara. I couldn't really say one way or the other. I should visit my mother. Hades seemed lost in thought at my words, before shaking his head. Well, how about we get this started? Get started? You mean start bitching about our respective pantheons? Hel snorted, already with a drink in her hand. Not an inaccurate way of saying it. Hades didn't dispute her words. Well, I need to vent, or I'm going to strangle my father the next time I see him. Hel conjured a chair and sat down. Only ever visits me for one of his schemes. Hel, I need your help. Can't you just come to say hello? The Nordic goddess threw her hands up in frustration. Don't even get me started. Yama followed suit, getting comfortable in his own chair as we sat down as well. No one ever just visits the king of the underworld just to visit. 18 hells. Couldn't they just drop in to say hello? Am I that unapproachable? No, it's always because they need me for something. One of their mistresses died, or a distant descendant died, and they want them to reincarnate with some good fortune. That damn monkey is one of the few who just visits me to visit, and he beat me up when we first met. Bah! Hades slapped his armrest. My younger brother always summoning me up to Olympus like I'm beneath him. I don't even have a throne on the mountain, and they demand I come and observe their council. When's the last time he just called me to come up and join in the celebrations? I let back a small laugh. This was how these things always turned out. We catch up and find out what everyone had been up to recently. Then we just complain about our pantheons for a few days, drinking, and doing our own little celebration. If there's one thing we all share, it's that we're pretty much ignored by our respective pantheons, so this is usually a welcomed reprieve. After Hades' first rant ended, eyes turned to me. I haven't seen my children in centuries. Forget Takamagara, couldn't they just come visit me once in a while? I huffed. They all nodded and offered words of encouragement. It was nice to be able to let it out every now and then. Chapter 169. This should be good, right about here. I made a mark on the ground, and I surveyed the area. In the distance I could see the Igdemilenia Castle, and it was an impressive sight. Not the greatest, nor the most visually magnificent, but it definitely invoked a feeling of foreboding just by gazing upon it. If I wanted a castle myself, it would be one I took inspiration from. Oh well. I dug a little bit on the marked spot after mentally calculating the distance from the other spots. Without a second thought, I dropped a dust bomb inside. This was one of the fire dust variety. My inner pyromaniac was quite interested to see how this one turned out. I of course trusted in Jin's genius to know this would be quite a stunning sight to behold. What is that? Mordred looked over my shoulder, gazing down at the dust bomb. She'd been watching me doing this at several locations now. I turned, giving her a look of confusion. Did you not listen to my explanation? Like we spent an hour or so just going over the plan and working out everything important. I got bored after you started rambling about annoying shit. She waved her hand flippantly. Sounded too much like that flowery bastard for me to keep caring. I face-palmed, dragging my hand down my face in exasperation. I'm planting magical bombs right outside the territory of the Black Faction. It wasn't hard to gauge the distance of their bounded fields. They kind of forewent subtlety for more power in that regard. And navigating everything else they threw up around the forests surrounding the castle wasn't little difficult. Won't do much against a servant. She yawned, still looking bored. Well, they aren't normal bombs. I rolled my eyes, hiding the spot I dug up and making sure it was set properly. I actually found the perfect little spell back in Skyrim. A remote detonation spell that will trigger the mechanism. Jin was the one who showed me it, actually. You'd be more of a disappointment if they were. She replied, I have the distinct feeling you're going to be difficult while we're working together. I sighed. Hang on, let me pretend to care. She cleared her throat. Oh gee, what do these magical bombs do? She said flatly. Huh, I like her snark. What a sharp contrast she is from Artoria, even though they look so much alike. I would say I'm not going to stoop to your level, but I don't think it's possible to go that low. I gestured to the top of her head, and where she compared to me. Height joke, scathing. She didn't seem fazed. Mordred is short. I haven't heard that one a billion times from the other knights already. I guess once the initial shock wore off, you aren't acting like a... I tapped my chin. Like a what? My lips curled up. A berserker. Fuck you. Fuck you. I replied without a second thought. Fucking fine. She threw up her hands. Tell me about your stupid bombs. And this is my life now. The things I'm willing to do for Artoria. They contain a concentrated elemental reaction, the closest to each pure concept that could be acquired within short notice. Then they went through a second refining process to turn them into proper bombs. It was a decent enough explanation. That's kinda cool. She muttered. You understood what I said? I was a bit surprised. While it was somewhat dumbed down, I thought she would say something snarky again. I didn't think she would parse my words properly. I'm not an idiot. She scowled. I did pick up some shit from my mother. Instead of explosions, it's going to be elemental effects. This one is red. Does that mean it's going to shoot out fire or something? I perked up a little bit. Yeah, it comes from crystallized mana that took the form of the elements. This one in particular is fire, so it should erupt into a sort of firestorm when actualized. She actually started to grin. That's fucking metal. I threw an ice one at the priestmaster I met the other day. I gestured with my hands. Blew up into this big jutted icicle conglomeration. You at least get him? She asked. Ugh, probably not. Made another servant appear, though. She kind of flipped when it exploded in his face, so there's that. I grinned. Oh, that reminds me. If you see Ryder of red-green hair, uses a spear, and wears a scarf, call him Siegfried. Why? Didn't you say that was Achilles? Oh, he tried to stab me while doing this nonchalant, nothing personal attitude. Pissed me off, so I intentionally started calling him the wrong name. He's the really cocksure sort, so calling him Siegfried really got under his skin. She let out a snort, trying to hide the smile that was forming on her face. Wait. She paused. Some kind of realization dawned on her. You actually fought a servant? Did you think I left multiple servants for my saber to deal with? I gave her a cheeky smile. She scowled, but otherwise didn't react to my saber comment. You're right. I'd be surprised if you didn't wet yourself when Ryder raised a spear towards you. I've taken shots at literal gods, like Ryder would scare me. I rolled my eyes. Actually, it's how I got Artoria to go on a date with me the first time. What? Her eyes snapped up, listening intently at this point. I took out my phone, looking at the time. We were making good progress. I guess it wouldn't hurt to have a small chat. I did kind of want to maybe find some common ground with Mordred. We fought and I offered a wager for the fight. If I won, then I was going to take her out on a date. Well, it was more complicated than that, but I didn't want to air Artoria's issues in public like this. Bullshit, you defeated my father in a duel. She grit her teeth, a visible anger overcoming her. No, I didn't. I laughed. She kicked my ass. Still a fond memory. But I was also a lot weaker back then. She accepted anyways. Master, we've completed the work you requested, and we are returning now. Reika's voice sounded over the mental link. Mordred also went stiff ever so slightly, as if she too received a message. Kyrie tell you he's on the way back? Mordred grunted in confirmation. Don't understand why I had to stay here. She kicked a nearby rock. Wait, were you really not paying attention? I looked at her incredulously, and she didn't otherwise react. I let out a long sigh. I thought you were just fucking with me. I rubbed my temples. If you had been paying attention, I made sure to be verbose about it. You would have heard that your master and I did not have a way to keep in contact with one another at such distances while on the move. My servant goes with him, his with mine, so we can communicate. Not only that, while we finalized an alliance, but there is also no doubt in my mind that Kyrie is still a true magus. He most definitely gave Mordred orders to take my head the moment it looked like I would try and betray them. And it would be no surprise for me if he prepared other contingencies. It was just the smart thing to do. The weight and promise of my name aside, he would be an idiot to just blindly trust me that much. I felt a twitch over the other mental link, the one I shared with Sir Wiggles. I briefly noted how it was strange they didn't overlap, and I made a small promise to investigate it later. But otherwise, Sir Wiggles came shooting through the forest at blinding speed. The fuck is that? Mordred already had her sword in her hand, ready for fight, only for my familiar to dart out of the brush and into my hands. What? She started at the greatest rabbit ever in pure confusion. I went over this. I let out another long sigh. I said my familiar would be running around the northeastern side of the castle, closest to the town. He was running interference, taking out familiars and triggering the furthest magical detections away from us. Good job, Sir Wiggles. I made sure to send it over the link as well. I think he returned a sort of happiness at my praise. He's getting stronger. I'm happy to have picked him up. I slipped the ring of the Cageate onto his horn before he left. It really did wonders for his speed and stealthiness. That's your familiar? She looked at me with a strange expression. Behold! I held Sir Wiggles up into the air. Sir Wigglesbottom Fluffytail Octavius Benedict III, Crown Prince of Emerald Kingdom, Duke of Carrot Island, General of the Northern Armies, the Lightning-born. I introduced. Or just Sir Wiggles for short. That's fucking stupid. Well then, I guess you don't want to hold him. Bastard. She scowled deeper before turning her head away and holding her arms out. Sir Wiggles took that as a K to leap towards her from my grasp. Haha, works every time. I'm curious about something. I found a nearby rock and leaned against it, earning her attention, at least to some degree. She was happily stroking Sir Wiggles' fur. Your master was kind of uncaring when we negotiated price for the alliance. What about it? I don't know. I scratched my head. You sure that's what he wants? The way he went about it just felt like he was going through the motions. How the hell am I supposed to know what he wants? I ain't a magus. I don't care about all that crap about bloodlines. She spat out. Besides, the hell you care for? I shrugged. I guess it really isn't any of my business. I just can't help but meddle sometimes. I ran a hand through my hair, looking up at Mordred. I take care of my people. Whatever. She didn't seem to care about what I was saying, so I dropped it. If her master wanted something else, an actual wish, I would see what I could do after the war was over. I turned my head, seeing the outline of Reiku coming into view as she materialized onto the physical aspect of the world. Master, Reiku ran to me, quickly scooping me up into a hug. I'm back. Did you miss Mama? Well, I think both Mordred and Kyrie were used to her eccentrics now. Speaking of, welcome back. I gave her a smile before turning my attention towards Kyrie, who appeared not far away. How'd it go? No issues. The older magus took out a cigarette and immediately lit it. That invisibility potion you gave me worked great. Curious where you got it. He commented. He probably kept some of it to research later. Good luck. I have my sources. I grinned, changing the subject. Time to move on to the next part. I motioned towards Sir Wiggles, who hopped onto the ground. Finally, I was getting tired of all this cloak and dagger shit. Mordred stretched her arms. I can actually get some action now. Yup, it was about time to let loose. Chapter 170. A full moon, how annoying. I looked up at the sky. At least it wasn't a blood moon. That would have been an ominous sign. But it still felt like I was being looked upon by that celestial body. Oi, bastard. I turned to see Mordred standing next to her master. What's up, Buttercup? Mordred frowned in annoyance, but otherwise didn't lash out. After this war is over, I'm gonna kick your ass. She scoffed before her body started to astralize. Don't die, she added right before she disappeared. I couldn't help but grin. Honestly, I was starting to like her. I think she likes me. I laughed, turning my gaze towards Kyrie. He raised an eyebrow, but looked rather relaxed. Really, I'm starting to wonder if anyone in your family is normal. He shook his head. Nope, I said without hesitation. Well, not my problem. He shrugged. You good? I asked one last time. I got everything I need, and even found a nice spot to hide out and watch from. He patted his jacket. And your mystic codes were appreciated. I hope you don't expect me to pay you back for them if they get used. I gave him a dozen or so talismans in case he came across trouble. While not having the same knowledge of the Onmyoji arts that I have, he could still use them, if a bit amateurishly. To him, they were just one-use mystic codes that packed a decent punch. I told Mordred this, but I look after my people. I gave him a sincere smile. If you run into issues, use your command seals. Run away, do what you need to. I patted his shoulder. I'll do what I can as well if you run into any dangers. Kyrie barked out a laugh, dropping his cigarette to the ground and stomping on it. You're a strange magus. Maybe I'm stranger because I actually believe you. He turned around, throwing up his hand in a gesture of goodbye before disappearing into the forest. Master, Berserker appeared next to me. Why do you ally with them? I could do this without their help. You don't need to rely on them. She frowned. I walked up, wrapping my arms around her. She let out a little sound in surprise. Usually she was the one to do things like this. Maybe it was the bond we shared, but I enjoyed having her by my side. To say I felt a kindship with her wouldn't be a lie. It's true we don't need them, but it doesn't mean the help wouldn't be appreciated. Honestly, I didn't come into this thinking I would have anyone on my side besides Berserker. To find Mordred and Kyrie was a boon I was willing to utilize. Not to mention I had a good impression of the Magus, a very pragmatic man, but he didn't have that same ruthlessness that the Magus killer carried around with him. Adding Mordred onto the equation, well, how could I not? My life is really strange. I don't like relying on others. She muttered, but sounded a bit content. We're not. I smiled, looking up at her. I'm relying on you, you're relying on me. They're here to help, But it's you I trust to have my back without any hesitation on my part. Ah, to hear you say those words. Mommy is happy. She smiled so brightly. It was hard not to get taken in by it. If all goes well, this will be the last night of the war. The plan wasn't difficult. The best plans generally weren't. We just needed the location of the Grail within the castle and a big enough distraction to pull their attention and servants away. Once we're done, would you like to stick around with me? Of course, Master, she said without hesitation. A son need their mother always. The happiness was radiating off her. I let out a small laugh. Get ready, we're going in hot. Sir Wiggles pinged me. He saw an army moving on the 8 Millennia Castle. Servants, I was confident to take any of them on. In a fight, I don't think I'd lose to anyone here, but they're noble phantasms. It would be a lie to say they didn't frighten me. Yet, this feeling swelling up in my chest, this excitement, I wanted to fight them regardless. I summoned Mirage into my hand, my familiar blade easing my beating heart. It was time to begin. Lancer of Black, Vlad LLL the Impaler, POV. Lancer, Darnik addressed me. Our spies have reported in. The enemies are upon us. Ho! I sat upright on my horse, a fine stallion that my master had procured. A nostalgic comfort mounted as I surveyed my troops. If they're so bold to openly march on us, it would be rude to not meet them halfway. I couldn't help but grin. They willingly want an open battle such as this. Do they take me for a fool? One of their number attempted to assassinate the ruler. Such actions would not line up with this attack. A distraction, or something more. Regardless, I can't say I dislike this kind of battlefield. It is where I thrive the most. 500 homunculi I counted. Another 200 golems of impressive quality. Do we have numbers, troop composition, and eyes on the enemy's servants? I directed my question towards Darnik. He bowed lightly towards me, answering immediately. We've located 3 servants moving along with their forces. It appears as though their numbers comprise completely of some kind of skeletal constructs. As for their numbers, over 10,000 is a conservative guess. Quite a bit. Skeletal constructs in such number? Likely to be dragon-tooth warriors, a common deployment method of the caster class. Or so says the Grail. It was a common enough method of the casters that such information was not hidden behind identities. And the servants showing themselves so blatantly. This could be nothing but a provocation, and one we had to accept. It doesn't matter. In the face of absolute strength, their schemes will be for naught. Not that we did not take many precautions for various avenues of attack ourselves. The castle is a fortress, even a servant would have a hard time penetrating. I frowned, thinking of the assassin that went silent in another city. We didn't have time to figure out what happened over there. Ryder, I called out. Yosh, I'm here. The pink-haired man appeared. Take to the skies. I commanded. Okie dokie. He did a mock salute, summoning his mount. As majestic the creature was, it seemed to possess a disposition similar to its master. It liked to pose when summoned. He shot off at a blinding speed. If nothing else, Ryder was capable, even with his eccentricities. Saber, remain hidden for now. I glanced at the dragon slayer. He was a powerful servant. He would be crucial in battle. Berserker, you're with me. I turned towards the other melee combatant. The woman thing that wore a wedding dress. Ra. She nodded, aware enough to accept orders. I turned my head upwards, to the tower sitting aloft the castle. Archer glanced back at me, his gaze meeting mine. We both nodded, words not needing to be spoken here. Knowing who he was, I did not feel the need to command him. Perhaps I would feel awkward if I had to do so. He reminded me too much of the teachers I had when I was a child. Nonetheless, he knew the role I wished him to partake, as obvious it was. I shall attend to the castle's defenses. Darnik bowed again, his words indication of his intent to retreat to safety. Not that I expected more of this man who was so keen to hand over such authority to his summoned servant. I wouldn't balk at the ease I could command, but it struck me as odd that he was so willing to forego his lofty throne. It seemed that no magus wished to accompany us to this battle. While I could understand the reasoning, it only lowered my opinion of them even more so. A master is a part of a servant's strength. The pair are to brave the dangers together as per their contract. I summoned forth my spear and held it aloft, pointing towards the oncoming army. March! I commanded as our forces began moving. Perhaps it was just my own amusement that I went through with this. They were already almost upon us. We truly only needed to wait a moment or two. Old habits are hard to break. The rattling of bones and cumulative footsteps upon the earth that made the land tremble, my blood started to boil at the thought. The enemy's servants, I could see them accompany the haphazardly organized skeletons, these dragon-tooth warriors. A single of our homunculi could defeat a few of those, and our golems would need just as many homunculi to be defeated as well. While the numbers were not in our favor, we were not on the losing end of this exchange. In the distance, I spotted a green blur dashing through the air. A chariot pulled upon 3 horses. I could guess who commanded such a contraption. Our rider would have his work cut out for him. And the lancer servant that Saber described, he skulked the left side of the army, prepared for battle. He had a good look in his eyes. I was excited to cross my spear with his. Finally, there was the archer servant, bow in her hand and strange animal features, but I cared not about her circumstance. Unique all 3 appeared, but first guesses at their identities would be fruitless. I held my spear up, gesturing for my forces to cease movement. Let's see what their first move shall. A sudden crack of thunder filled the area, and a bolt of lightning struck the ground between our 2 armies. My eyes widened at the sudden arrival of 2 individuals, a red-haired man that had the same description Saber also gave previously, as well as the woman who stood with her back to his, the servant no doubt. Red faction, black faction. The Magus addressed us, his voice carrying more than it should, a sure sign of magecraft in use. If you want to fight, we'll take you all on, he declared, raising his hand up in a beckoning manner. Arrogant boy. Wilhelm POV. Arrogant boy. The servant riding a horse, spear in hand, shouted from the black faction side. Well, looks like I have their attention, now to keep it. Let's see, how did Sir Wiggles do it? Something like this? I gathered, lighting around my hands, condensing into an almost armor-like form. Haha, tingly. Would need to practice this a little bit, but I had an idea. I raised my hand up towards the thousands of skeletons coming towards us, unperturbed by our sudden appearance, even if the red faction servants hadn't reacted yet. Condensed the lightning into an attack, channeling through runic circles. Shall we call this lightning rain? I breathed out. Dozens of spears of lightning manifested in the sky above and began to rain down onto the oncoming horde. Each one that struck the ground discharged the accumulated power. They unraveled and erupted at the point of impact, creating a storm of electricity at each point. Reiku, I called out through our mental link. I looked up in the sky and saw Ryder's glowing chariot coming down at us. Take care, don't push yourself too hard, and your priority is survival. I could tell she was going after the Lancer immediately. Whatever strange link she had with him, I would let her settle it on her own if that was her desire. A quick glance at her, and her smile did fill me with confidence. I look forward to our lives after we win, Master. She sent back, gripping her sword tight. I turned back towards the killing intent in the distance. A force slammed into the ground, Ryder abandoning his chariot that was in the sky. Wilhelm, he let out a roar. Magical energy erupted from where he stood, a whirlwind following in his wake. He didn't seem to care about the minions that were utterly annihilated as he pushed right through the army towards me. A noble phantasm? I couldn't help but smile, and I sent a quick thanks to Thorum for what I was about to do. Would not KSD. My voice bellowed out, the air shifted around me, and I kicked off as well, a second whirlwind firing towards us with me at the center. My sword flashed out, meeting the tip of a spear aiming for my heart. The surroundings were utterly blown away, the ground ruptured at the sheer impact. The magical energy cascaded off the struggling weapons, each edge not budging from their spots. You bastard, you're mine now. Achilles had a maniac grin on his face, a mixture of exhilaration and anger. I've been waiting for this rematch, Siegfried. I smirked.